Live from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice, Sylvester Lynn, welcomes you to a brand new edition of BTL. No, it is not Thursday. It's Thanksgiving Eve, baby. Happy Wednesday to us all. And because we are thankful to all of you, we wanted to do another live show. We wanted to make it your show, a special Thanksgiving Eve Q&A edition of the program. And joining me to answer your questions, the hot take kid himself, Mr. No Gray Area, the Barrett of Boop, the man who has scientifically tested that chickens cannot be goats. He is the one and only Jed Meshew from MMAfighting.com. There he is.
I want to clear up a misconception. I did not do the scientific research. I am not a science doctor, so I just spoke to the experts. I collected all of the data, but they're the ones who did the research. They looked at the chromosomes, not me, because I am not a science doctor.
Fair enough. I am also not a science doctor. Casey Leiden is a doctor in production, I would say. I would give him a PhD. He's joining us as well to take your questions and chime in. There he is. Sleeves optional, but not needed on this Thanksgiving Eve. How are you, Casey?
Doing wonderful on this gloomy Wednesday morning in Southern California. But wherever you are in the world, I'm happy you are here with us on this Wednesday.
Yes. So, as we already mentioned, it's a Q&A. Bring on your questions.
Out here sleeveless. I am in
sleeveless.
Heavy sweatpants because it is cold. It is cold on the East Coast, friggin' living in California.
It was misty yesterday. It was
70 degrees outside here.
Yeah, there was a light mist yesterday.
Oh.
It was like 34 when I woke up.
Oh. Yeah.
Running in 30-degree weather sucks ass. That's my hot take for the day, kids.
All right. Well, that's our show, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. Casey, bring up the first question because lots of stuff to talk about here.
There we go. That's the first question.
Oh my God, there's a celebrity in the chat.
Oh.
Oh, Phoenix
Goat
Carnivale, the undisputed BTL champion, she's the Dominic Cruz of BTL. She's been out for like 3.5 years, but we just cannot take the belt away from her.
Yeah.
So
we still have her ranked. We still have her ranked despite her. Yeah, she's our Jon Jones. She's always gonna be ranked.
Good to hear from you, Phoenix. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Maybe the greatest ever appear on the show. Oh, yes. Catching up while forcing herself to do cardio. Yes, that's because then nothing will make you want to push the pace more than watching us deliver takes on this here program.
All right, up that resistance, Phoenix. Come on, let's get a sweat going.
Yeah, it's like a 22 here.
Yeah,
Take that incline
yeah. I want to see 180 heart rate. Let's do it.
Shout out to the BTL GOAT.
Thank you, Phoenix. All right, question from longtime commenter, our favorite guy, Joseph Boza.
Joseph Boza, what are your thoughts on the statement from MVP Promotions that says Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson wasn't rigged? If they have to put out a statement, it tells me it was rigged. So I saw this. I'm trying to do more on my Instagram. So if you haven't followed me, like when things of this nature happens, I just jump on, hit record, and then I just post it after taking some.
Gotta get on that TikTok, Mike. Instagram.
I gotta do the TikTok thing. But I gave my thoughts on it. I'll deliver some more here. But Jed, what did you think of the statement from MVP?
I thought it was silly, right? Like it just because you will have people like Mr. Joseph Boza, and I don't know if he is being serious here or not, because I tend to think of all of our certainly viewers and listeners and commenters as educated fans, unless your name is Cross and then you're a big dummy. But By speaking about this, you are giving it some level of credence, even if it is only to speak a total rejection of the thing. It just wasn't necessary because I think most people who are knowledgeable about fight sports know that it wasn't fixed, that it was just bad and stupid and silly. And the people who aren't knowledgeable about fight sports, they're not gonna hear the message that you gave them. Like, if they do, they might view, as Joseph has said here, like, oh, if you're denying it, that just makes it true. But then most likely, like, the broader public, they're not tuning into MMAfighting.com for updates on what MVP says about this. And so it's one of those ones where it is just clearly better to me to say nothing. What's the old saying? Better to be silent and have people think you're dumb than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Like, they really just didn't need to say shit about this one. And so, yeah, I think that was probably not the best choice on their part.
What did you think about it, Casey? Was it necessary?
I'm kind of on the fence. But I kind of also I just don't know how this new promotion works with kind of more of a social media kind of I don't know game plan. I don't work for MVP, but my wife worked for MVP last week, so I was kind of around the social media team, around Nikisa and kind of the top guys, and they just, because I was around Showtime too, and it's very different. Showtime, they were like for less the old school, and this is like new school. They're very social media oriented. So I just don't know if this is good or bad. Like, is any publicity good publicity? Do they still want? Is this just good traffic, good engagement? Maybe to put that out there, but taking that away, in general, I wouldn't put anything like that out there. It kind of just I don't know, gives all the stupid TikTok videos a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Validity, and I just think you just ignore it. It was not a fix. It was not a rigged match. It was just a bad fight. That's all.
Yeah,
like
it was. Yeah, go ahead, Jed. It was just ridiculous, but please.
Yeah, it is just like, honestly, so much of life can just be tracked back to like how you would handle a situation on a schoolyard, and like if you get upset because somebody's calling you a name, I won't use the name that was in vogue during my youth because it's no longer an acceptable thing. Like, you are just making it worse by acknowledging it. We're just like, okay, man, whatever. It takes any of the teeth out of anything about it. And so, like, if you were going to send a statement, like maybe Jake Paul doing it just on his social in the same way that he just tweets and TikToks about random shit, maybe that's okay. But to do it from like a stance of the promotion, like that is just a huge failure on my part.
Yeah, this was the dumbest thing MVP has done since they started this. This is honestly the worst decision they made, in my opinion, because these rigged conversations have come up with every fight he's been involved in, every single one of them. And there have been social media videos made about each and every one of them that people believed. And you chose this fight to put out a statement. Not only that, whoever wrote this statement, terrific gumption in language, but you don't have an editor to proofread your work. Why would you ever put out there, by saying that these guys didn't fight to the best of their ability, you're not giving them the credit they deserve for the hard work and dedication they put into the gym. When Jake Paul literally said he didn't fight to the best of his ability, that he carried Mike and tried not to hurt him, you can't say things like that in a professional fight. After a professional fight, you just cannot do that when hundreds of millions of dollars are being wagered on it. You just look so silly going back to this when, in reality, knowing this combat sports landscape, you could have just let this slide. In a week, no one would have thought about this fight. Nobody would have thought about it. We would have thought about Thanksgiving and the holidays, and then we would have been on to UFC 310. and boxing would have had another big fight. Ryan Garcia's doing weird Ryan Garcia things. We would have moved so quickly past all of this, unless a lawsuit or something happened. But in terms of how people viewed the fight and the perception of it, people were almost past it anyways. Like, people were already had turned the page. This fight sucked. It was ridiculous. We talked about it on Thursday and kind of like let everything out that we had left to say. Then Nikisa goes on Ariel's show and just says a bunch of ridiculous nonsense. And that could have been everything right there. You could have just left it there. And then you put out this statement. I'm stunned by the stupidity, if we're being honest. I could not believe what I saw. And I cannot believe they did this. And to Jed's point, now people really think it's rigged because they put out the statement. So
I don't get that. I don't quite get that part. But is good? Is any publicity? Is this bad publicity? Is this bad overall for them? But why?
100%.
But why?
Because
like, are people not going to tune in for the next one more or less? No, I'm more.
Think that is yes. Almost definitionally, I think. Like I do not ascribe to the idea that all publicity is good publicity. I think that there are limited windows where that is true, but it's just like blatantly not true when you're actively trying to sell a product. And so I think that this ain't helping. This is not going to make one more person tune in. And I suspect that it will, in fact, turn more people off to tuning in the future, insofar as they would have for the next freak show that he does. Because, like, nobody's tuning in for Jake Paul to do the thing. Like, we already know this. We talked about this ad nauseum. Yeah. And Jake Paul goes back to fighting the Ryan Borlands of the world. Some people will tune in because they are Jake Paul people who will tune in for everything, and everybody else will ignore it. The next time Jake Paul fights somebody that is of renown, I'm trying to think of who it would be that would like fits in the Mike Tyson mold. Like if he fights Evander Holyfield or whatever, people won't tune in. They'll just be like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah, it's just a bad idea. You took all the focus off of Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Like all the credit they got, them being at the top of the news cycle when it came to that card, gone now. You took all the attention off of them, put it back on this shitty fight. If you want to do a statement, here's the statement I would have written. Hey guys, we did it in Texas. That's all I needed to hear. Oh yeah, Texas sanctioned this bullshit. And Texas is one of the worst commissions in the country. I mean, it's been proven. Just go to MMA Fighting. Look at some of the write-ups we've had about the TDLR. Look at what they've done with MMA. Look at how they disciplined referees. Like, they are terrible. They sanctioned this bullshit. That should have been the statement. It was Texas. Signed to MVP. And people
they sanctioned the ref in the Katie Taylor fight, which they've been highly critical of.
Yep.
So
100%.
Mike, you also brought up a thing that I didn't mention that is like, I just already moved past it. It was real preachy. Like their statement was real preachy in a way that is just off-putting and was lame. Just be like admonishing people for it. Like if you feel the need to respond, you don't have to do it on such a high horse. Like particularly when you're like definitionally the high ground you stand upon is in putting a 60-year-old dude out there to fight a 27-year-old kid who admittedly tried not to hurt him. Like you don't have a moral imperative here. So maybe take that holier than thou language and stuff it up your ass.
Yeah. There's been a lot of that since this fight ended and it's driving me insane. So
I like
hopefully
that.
this is the last we talk about this.
Illogical and inane. Okay. You know what else, buddy? You know what else was illogical and inane? The whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
70,000 people, 110 million watched. We love illogical. We love inane. That's what sells.
I'm not being.
That's what sells.
Again, I love illogical and inane shit too. I've seen every Fast and the Furious movie in theaters. Like, I get it. I'm just saying, when I'm at the fucking Fast and the Furious movies, I'm not looking down my nose at people because I understand the world I'm inhabiting.
Yeah, just like you're an idiot for not doing this as an exhibition. Like that killed you. No one, not one. You would have lost like 1,000 total viewers in the whole thing. No one would have been like, "Oh no, it's an exhibition. I'm not going," because no one would have even known. really. Just like we would have known and we would have told people, but no one, like the casual audience who was watching this fight just saw on Netflix that Mike Tyson was fighting Jake Paul. They didn't care if it was a pro fight or not. They just were like, wow, these two guys are fighting each other. And none of these questions would matter. We wouldn't have anything to say about it. We'd say the fight was terrible as we expected. Mike didn't get hurt. We would probably celebrate Mike not getting hurt in all of this. But now it's come to this, and it's crazy.
Is there an actual real? What is the argument? I've only seen a couple of stupid slow-mo videos of bad angles and like, look, they're whispering into each other's ears right now, dude. You know, it's like,
yeah, it's not rigged. The fight was not rigged.
Oh, I know it's
Mike
not rigged.
Tyson,
But I'm like, what are they even basing anything on? Because, or is this just really stupid casual?
They're trying
just
to make
looking
money.
for engagement.
They're making
okay,
money. 100%. They're trying to make
engagement. Money. Okay, just double check
trying to
because
make
like
money.
I saw it for like 10 seconds. Like, this is stupid. I was there. This is
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious what people were actually. What the
People
argument
who've
was.
never watched fights and have no idea how fights work.
Okay.
Yep.
Because
Thank you, Mr.
this doesn't just happen for Jake Paul. I mean, this just happens for every big boxing match. It is always rigged.
And MMA.
Dude, I worked at Elite XC during the Kimbo Slice era. I've been through all this again. You know, been through us. The James Thompson fight, though, the first fight in CBS, that was called fixed forever. You know, when Petrozelli knocked Kimbo out, that was what. I guess that was called. I don't know. Everything was called. Anything Kimbo Slice was related was always called fixed.
Yeah.
So
People want to believe in conspiracies.
yes,
That is why there are grown adults who believe the earth is flat, which is truly the dumbest thing. Like, not even hyperbolic. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. If you believe the earth is flat and you're watching this, Jed Meshew, personally believe you to be among the stupidest people in existence. And that's just, there's a not insignificant portion of the consuming public who, you know, maybe doesn't go quite that far, but they do want to believe in a conspiracy.
We good?
Oh, we're so good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Boza. Question from our good friend Lazy Bed. Important. This is important discussion right here.
Lazy bit. Macaroni and cheese, a crucial side dish or overrated slop? Jed?
We don't have mac and cheese at our Thanksgivings. It was never part of it. So I would certainly say it is not a crucial side dish. I love me a mac and cheese though. I'm not morally opposed to mac and cheese. I don't think it is at all necessary. I mean, the Thanksgiving table has so much else going on, but particularly you get like a good pan made, not like, and I like a Kraft mac and cheese straight out of the box too. Again, I am not levitating above the rest of humanity here, but you get like a good pan made, like real mac and cheese. I'm also into that, but I definitely don't think it's necessary because I'm cooking Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow and I am not making mac and cheese.
Never had mac and cheese at Thanksgiving ever. Casey?
Freaking crucial. And this question is overrated slop. Thank you, Lazy Bed.
Ooh. All right. I like it.
I am a Southerner, and we like our mac and cheese.
Casey, I am as Southern a human being as it gets.
Oh, whoa, no. All right.
You live in California.
I live in California now. I was raised in Mississippi.
My name is Jed, and I was born in South Georgia.
I am flying to Mississippi tomorrow yeah, we're
You're flying on Thanksgiving? Oh.
Yeah. Leaving 6 in the morning.
Baby.
Yeah.
That's the best way to fly. That's the best time to fly.
Ooh, land in Memphis, 30-minute drive, Mississippi. We're good.
Yeah, today sucks. Tomorrow will be bad. And then flying back on Sunday is terrible. So you leave Thursday and you fly back Monday. That's the way you do it.
I've never flown
Mike
on
Heck.
Thanksgiving.
That's exactly what me and Esther did. Line out Thursday morning,
you
come back Monday.
Yep. It's going to be so nice for you guys travel-wise, and you probably saved a whole bunch of money doing it that way, too.
And get this. We spent a little bit more. We got upgraded. We have layback seats.
Oh! In style.
You live in fancy.
Here you go. Well done.
Thank you, Lazy Bed. All right. This is good.
What are Mike and Jed's thoughts on PFL-Bellator being a mess? I thought it was a good thing when they had the town hall meeting with Don Davis, but now I'm thinking Don doesn't know what he's doing. You're just thinking that now? I mean, come on. Look, Don came on to the town hall. We discussed the things that were said and not said on that particular program. But for those who have no idea what this question means or where it's coming from, PFL is about to do their annual $1 million championship show on Friday. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be 17 hours long because there's 10 scheduled 5-round fights between the prelims and the actual main card. These are the most brutal cards to watch and cover, but that has nothing to do with the story.
This could be the worst one by far.
Oh yeah.
It's not even close. This one is going to be a nightmare Friday.
Yeah. I bet most people have no idea who Dakota Ditchev is even fighting, because we haven't seen a thing about Tyler Santos, so I just gave you the answer. But anyways, we have seen a whole bunch of Bellator fighters come out expressing their frustrations as to why they are not fighting. Patchy Mix, Patricio Pitbull, Corey Anderson, Johnny Eblin's thrown in a few things here and there. We've seen Lorenz Larkin become a free agent. We've seen other big names become free agents or get released and all these other things. This is not going well. And once again, Jed, as I throw this to you, ahead of a big event, one they call their tentpole event every year, it all comes down to this. This is why you do the season, and the whole build is to get to the show. Nobody is talking about the show at all. They're talking about the drama surrounding PFL-Bellator. Your thoughts on the messy situation they now find themselves in once again?
So I wrote about this week in the mailbag because a lot of people had the same question for the mailbag. And I covered a lot of ground because this has been a bad year for PFL, just straight up. And at the end of 2023, when the acquisition of Bellator was going through, we talked about, and I certainly put it out there, that this would maybe not be a make or break year, but that this was a big opportunity year for PFL. With the confluence of things happening now, with getting this influx of talent from Bellator, because that was always the issue. That was always what they lacked, was having a number of good fighters. They had one or two, and the idea and the theory that the tournament system would create more names, that has not proven to be true, frankly. Though I guess maybe to some extent it did give us Hinan Fajeda. But all right, you're going to get all this Bellator talent in. Now you can start to put together real, like legitimately good cards multiple times a year on top of your bread and butter, which is the tournaments or the season-long series, however the hell they call it, whatever. And then all of that has just failed pretty much pillar to post. This has thus far been the least interesting tournament or season-long thing that they have done, in my opinion. It is pretty much Dakota Ditchev's show. Like they're putting a lot of eggs in that basket to be something that's interesting and new. The rest of the tournament finals are, frankly, not all that interesting for any number of reasons. And then on top of this, and I do want to address specifically the championship this weekend, but we can talk about that later, because to get to the point of the question, the Bellator shit is awful. It is so unbelievably bad for them, because you can have criticisms of Bellator, and God knows we did. We had any number of criticisms on this program, on other programs, repeatedly, because we wanted them to do better. But one thing that I was always very clear on, and that I think Bellator was very, very good about, and not just Bellator, historically Scott Coker has been exceptional about through his history, which is probably why he has been as successful as he has been, is he was always clear in communication with the fighters on his roster. And while there is naturally an animosity in the relationship between promoter and fighter, he, for the most part, was fighter friendly. Not all the time, and certainly that no promoter is, but hey, Michael Chandler wants to leave and go to the UFC, go do it with our blessing. Hey, you guys want out of your contract, you want to, they worked around those things and basically just carried themselves with an air of respect that resonated with fighters. Because if you talk to any freaking fighter who fought under Scott Coker's banner, be it Strikeforce or Bellator, they are all pretty much unanimous in saying it's great to fight for Scott. I was treated with respect. I got paid better, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I knew where things stood. And there are outliers, but mostly that has happened. And PFL has simply not done that. And whether, we aren't in the behind the scenes meetings, maybe there's a reason for this. But openly and honestly, almost every major fighter from Bellator has come out and complained about the lack of transparency, the lack of fights, the lack of communication that is being proffered to them, saying, hey, man, I would like to fight X, Y, and Z. Chris Cyborg, not the most reliable narrator, apparently wanted to fight Larissa Pacheco for a while. They finally made it happen, and she did fight her, and now is already like, let me fight somebody else. I do not know what PFL is doing with respect to Bellator fighters. I think I know what they're doing with Bellator, and I've put that out here before. But what I know that is happening with Bellator fighters is they are burning any goodwill they had. And so when Patchy Mix's contract comes up and whenever it is due, they're going to play hell re-signing him. Because why the fuck would you go sign somebody who was this bad at communicating with you? Even if you give them, okay, well, we were trying to figure things out. It was new. Like, no, I will go to a promotion that I know I am going to fight twice a year. I know the UFC will give me 2 fights a year. And so I will go do that because I value consistency. Because at the end of the day, everybody in their job values consistency, and just straight up, the PFL has not been consistent with Bellator fighters, and it is a disaster for them as a result.
Yeah, it's insane. They've just dropped the ball. At this point, you just gotta kind of do the humane thing here and just make a decision. You either book these guys to fight and you do it quickly, or you let them go. Like, let them go. At this point, you need to send an email to all of their managers and be like, yo, this is what we're doing. We're releasing these people, or we're doing this. We want to keep you, but we're not going to force you to stay. We will give you this if they stay, but if they want to leave, we're giving you the option to leave. They need to do that right now. They're just doing too much. And we knew they would. When Don Davis came on the MMA Hour and was like, everybody has a job, everybody has a contract, Bellator is going to stay, it's going to be better than ever. We knew it was just terrible business in terms of like MMA and creating buzz. What Bellator is worse now. It's so bad. They have so little buzz, and it's the same thing, except they put a sprinkle of PFL on top of it, which is just disgusting. It's like having mac and cheese and vanilla ice cream and squash and cranberry sauce all mixed together in one pie. You like the things possibly individually, but you put them all together, it tastes like ass. You don't want that. And that is what this has become. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. At this point, you just got to let these fighters who are in the prime of their careers make a decision one way or the other. They can make more money and stay with you and get less interesting fights, or you can let them go and see what they can get on the open market. Because right now you're wasting these fighters' careers because you try to do too much. You try to do something that everybody told you was a bad idea. And even now, look at what they've themed the new Champion Series product. There's no Bellator attached to it. We're still doing Bellator titles, which I don't understand either. But they just call it the Champion Series, the PFL Champion Series, starring Bellator lightweight champion Usman Nurmagomedov. What the fuck is that?
I said this when it happened, like when they signed it and announced the plans, and I am really convinced, like until somebody gives me, like Don Davis explains a better reason, I am just flat out certain that they are contractually obligated either through a fiduciary duty or a literal contractual, broadcast rights deal to perpetuate Bellator for some period of time. And because it is the only thing that makes sense at all with how they have done. That Bellator had existing rights deals that they had to adhere to, or promotional deals or whatever, that there is a financial obligation somewhere in there that this has to perpetuate for a year or two, whatever it may be, before they can fold this thing up. Because otherwise, I believe that the people managing PFL are smart people. I don't think that they are smart fight promoters. And I think, as Don Davis pretty clearly outlined, they aren't really fight fans. But I do believe that they are smart at business, because that is what they see this as. And you have to be a very dim bulb to think that bifurcating your brand to this extent is worthwhile when you're at this stage of what you are. And so I remain absolutely convinced that the only reason Bellator exists insofar as it does is because they have some obligations. That being said, I do not understand at all why the fighters can't fight, because like I think that the championship card this weekend is the dumbest idea of all time. I have been on the record for years saying that I think it is an awesome idea to do it Thanksgiving weekend. I think it's such a good idea to do your championships, to tie it to a established American holiday, and you're going on Friday, but you can't ever host a pay-per-view that has 6 championship fights on it because that's silly. And it's not even 6, it's actually like 10 this year because they're doing all the regional ones too. What you can do is you can do a 2-day event. You can do Friday and you can do Saturday, and you can split that up and then make it the big extravaganza card for you of the year. And if you have that, then you can fill in more Bellator fighters. And frankly, you know what a lot of your fighters probably would enjoy outside of just the champions fighting for $1 million? If you have 2 cards and you can fill it out with other guys in your roster, they probably like the chance to fight right before the holidays to make money that they can then spend on their family at Christmas time. I do not understand why literally the lowest hanging fruit of all time has just been spurned by them. And instead we get 16 fucking fights on Friday, which is insane. 10 championship fights, which is more insane, and then the other 6 fights, which clearly should not happen. Under no circumstances should there be more fights outside of championship fights. But if you're gonna do it, why in shit's name is there an 0-0 fighter competing? Why is Asel Adouj taking on Jose Perez? Why are the rest of these fights not people we give a shit about who want to compete for you? What in the name of God is this promotion doing? It is so not hard. Don Davis, when you inevitably watch this, give me a call. Mike will give you my phone number and I will consult for free. Not because like I just want you guys to stop shooting yourself in the goddamn dick, because it's not that hard. 16 fights is insane.
I don't even like that UFC 310 is 14 fights. And there's one championship fight and one other 5-rounder. And I still think 14 is too many fights.
I would be so mad if I went to like a local card and there was like 16 fights on the card and like
I would leave.
I would like, oh God, no, this is no. Dude, and thoughts and prayers to all the PFL staff. Oh my God, all the cameramen, the play-by-play announcers, Sean O'Connell, doing that many fights. That is you just don't do that to people. And thoughts and prayers. That's just
it is. So I didn't even think of the Sean O'Connell of it, like, because we've talked about how it is hard to do a broadcast for 10 fights for 7 hours. This thing is going like, even I'm assuming, and this might be a bold assumption. Maybe it's just hope. I'm hoping that this will not have PFL pacing attached to it, and they will be firing people in because 10 championship fights. You guys understand that
they need multiple fights at the same time.
I don't think it will happen, right? Like I assume there will be some. There will probably be some finishes. You know, there is a world where 4 hours of continuous fighting is the minimum. Like 4 full hours, 250 friggin' minutes. That is 4 hours. I mathed that. It's actually 4 and change of championship fighting and then 6 undercard fights. Like that is an insane task to give to Sean O'Connell and whoever else, Randy Couture, Kenny Floyd, whoever it is. Like it is. Why is this thing not Friday and Saturday? They do it for WrestleMania. Why is PFL Mania not like, and that's what you should call it, PFL Mania, and it's Friday and Saturday, and you do 3 tournament championships and 2 of the regional championships and 3 tournament championships and 2 of the regionals, and that's 5 fights on each card, and then you fill it out with a couple of other specialty interest fights or whatever, and this is just the softest of softballs that could exist, and they're just like, no, I don't get it.
Casey, I love your idea so much. You ever go to like a rock festival and it's like the big
Multiple
bands
stages?
play the main stage in the stadium and then there's the side bands that play out like just in the entranceway of the parking lot. Like PFL Mena fight should happen outside in the parking lot, and then and then some of the PFL title fights, the ones that aren't Dakota Tacheva and that are not Brendan Loughnane, and some of the interesting ones, like
an actual
just have them both running. You have
circuits.
ESPN Plus at your disposal. You can do multiple channels. What's ESPN Plus going to say? No. They're like, cool. You want the Mena fights? Awesome. You want the hip?
Yeah.
You can split them.
You stagger them. You have your championship fight at 1, and then you have your, I don't know who's this, your Slim Tbilisi fight. He fights at 115. So I'm gonna watch the first round. If I like it, I'll stick around. If it's I get it, I'm gonna go to the other fight. It's right there. Follow the music festival circuit.
Oh, they're just running this shit into the ground.
Wait, but I want to ask you two gentlemen a question. I'm the BTL host right now. This is the 5th round. You're Don Davis. Why? Sell me why you are not giving your best fighters on your roster fights right now. Like what would he be saying to kind of sell this?
If I'm Don Davis, I'm lying.
Oh yeah, this is exactly what he says. This is exactly what he says. Well, the Bellator brand, it's not working. It's just not working. We had some fights booked for these fighters, but I can assure you, because we are fan and fighter friendly first, these fighters are all aware that they have fights booked on a Champions Series card in 2025, Mike. It's going to happen, Casey. These guys are all going to get rebooked. All the fights that the fans have wanted to see in 2024, you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. And isn't waiting for something great, isn't the anticipation almost as valuable as the actual moment it arrives? And I think that's what fight fans are going to get in 2025. The UFC is going to put on these cards of the Apex that nobody's going to watch. But with these Bellator Champion Series fights, you're going to get at least one championship fight, probably 2, because we have to make up for the 2024 reshuffling of the deck, if you will. So, yeah, these guys are all getting fights. All of their managers have been told they have fights. They will be fighting at a couple of blinks of an eye and in a shake of something. I don't know. I ran out of Don Davis. I think I did pretty good for the first 45 seconds.
That's good.
Yeah, I think Don just has to lie. Maybe give a kernel of truth and a half apology of, we wanted it. We had some plans and some of those fell through. And we're really sorry. We've kind of talked to the fighters. It is tough though to manage. This was not part of the plan. Last year, we weren't trying to acquire Bellator. The opportunity happened, and we're sort of having to kind of find our way as we go here. And so we know we've made mistakes. We're going to get everybody into action very early in 2025, maybe with another PFL versus Bellator supercard, something like that, with the new PFL champions who will be crowned on Friday evening, all 10 of them, whatever. But yeah, like we've made some mistakes. Hasn't gone great, but rest assured 2025 is going to be a much better year for them, and we hope to get them in soon. Like I think that because there is not a logical explanation, or certainly not one that fighters would suffer. So you just have to lie and maybe give the kernel of truth of like, yeah, we screwed up a little bit. We're going to make it better. I don't know if they're going to make it better, but I hope they do. Because again, Don, love you, buddy. I have given you a ton of respect for doing the town hall. I think that is a very admirable thing of you to do. I would very much like PFL to succeed. This year, I am the least confident I've ever been in your chances of success. It has been a categoric disaster for you.
The last thing he would have said is, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. I was watching Robbie Lawler versus Carlos Condit for the 12th time because I love that fight. It's my favorite."
I heard the fight was good, so I decided to tune into it.
By the way, Jed, 100% agree with you if the Bellator, some weird contractual thing. But why don't they just... Okay, the Bellator brand, the name, I get why they're probably contractually obligated to it. Why not just release the fighters? Or
dude, they're not even using it anymore. Look at the Champion Series. They don't even attach the Bellator name to it anymore.
So I'm so confused. I mean...
My belief, Casey, and this is pure speculation. Nobody say that I have. No, my belief is that there is a year long, roughly about a year long timeline that they are held to some sort of financial obligation for whatever reason that is, and that as soon as that is up, probably at the end of this year, they are going to immediately get rid of Bellator and make an announcement like the UFC did with Pride when they were like, oh, we're giving up on Pride. We're just going to put it all together. It's like, yeah, everybody's going to fold under the PFL. We are still going to have our PFL Africa, et cetera, et cetera. But we're all coming in. But the only reason it would make some sense to me that Bellator fighters haven't gotten to compete as much as they want is because that is tied to the obligation, and that they don't want to put on Bellator shows because those are loss leaders for them. And so they are simply trying to wait out the time limit that they need to then keep those fighters with them because they want the talent, but they want to be putting that talent under their banner and in service of the PFL brand. And that there is simply a timeline that they are forced to adhere to in that regard. It's the only thing that honestly makes sense at all to me, other than blanket incompetence. It's one of those two, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, both.
Probably a little column A, a little column,
little column B.
Also, it could be that.
They need
Like,
fresh
they don't
faces,
wanna-
man.
They don't want to
Badly.
let the fighters go, because then why in God's name did they acquire Bellator at all? I mean, despite
Yeah.
they didn't spend any money, so not like it hurt them. They paid monopoly dollars for it, but you don't want to let these guys walk. But I don't think they can give them the fights they want right now.
Yeah.
So
It's my
disappointing.
guess.
I hope in 2025 we will actually be saying some positive things about PFL. I really do.
Yeah, dude, open up a freaking
Let these
bantamweight
fighters
tournament.
walk, and we'll say positive things about them right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Come
Thank
out
you,
and do a
Mr.
press
Buzz.
conference. Say Patchy Mix, Johnny. All Bellator champions are now free agents. Then
Ooh,
that will say
that'd be-
positive things.
I would not. If you guys did that, I would not say that. They can say it, and I would respect you being good people. I would rake you over the coals for being horrible businessmen.
Harbor.
I mean, there's no real difference, honestly,
Yeah, it's like
for their brand right now. Yeah, I mean, so what? Fight Matrix isn't on their side, but they're not pushing them anyways. It's all about Dakota and Loughnane. Like, that's all. As long as they win a million bucks, it's a successful year for them.
I'm excited for Johnny Eblin to be in the middleweight tournament next year.
Oh my god.
Patchy Mix to be in a Bellator tournament or a bantamweight tournament.
Unbelievable.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Boza. Super chat from Lazy Bed.
Lazy.
Was watching old BTLs yesterday. Shouts to Phoenix, Babyface, Jed, and Buzzcut AK Lee. Thankful for the content through the years. Gang, keep pushing. Thank you, Lazy Bed.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Maybe I'll bring back the baby face. I'll just start shaving. Once you start shaving, you have to shave, though. Like, you got to keep doing it. It's so exhausting.
All right. Another super chat from George Simon.
What's up, George? Should UFC introduce a cruiserweight division?
Is cruiserweight, is that
Oh,
225.
You're around 225? Okay.
Yeah, I guess 225 is what it would be in MMA.
Should they?
No.
Why?
Because there's a better argument that they should do away with the heavyweight division. That they should introduce a cruiserweight division. I don't know what to tell you guys, man. Like, heavyweight is a garbage weight class, and
Light heavyweight's so much better, if we're being honest.
Well, that's the thing. Light heavyweight is also a garbage weight class, and so is heavyweight. And then, like, if you go to boxing, boxing is 200 pounds. It's heavyweight. Like, light heavyweight in boxing is like 170 or whatever. Like, the further up we get, that changes an enormous amount, because it's just like, yeah, once you're over 200 pounds, you're all the same. it's all fine. And so, like, I think that there has been a pretty decent argument that the heavyweight should just be 205. Like that's the maximum weight class or whatever. And that you draw the dividing line there. So you definitely don't need to differentiate between heavyweights because, like, who cares? There are not 15 good heavyweights. Will we get like 6 decent cruiserweights? No.
Yeah, I agree.
It's of all the
Honestly,
weight,
I think the 205 should go away. Just, heavyweight is
just 186 and up.
I mean, maybe we just bump 185 up, like you do, just a little notch up, but just like, yeah, 200 and up. that's the number.
Was that how the original UFCs were? Where was it? Was it 205?
I believe the dividing line was 200 pounds in the
200.
initial.
Yeah.
When they introduced weight class, I believe that lightweight was sub 200 and heavyweight was over 200. Okay. I can look that up though, Casey.
Yeah, I know it was around there. I can't remember exactly.
I think in like 2015, I think if you didn't do it back in like 2014, 2015, then it makes absolutely no sense to do it now. Because that was like the time I thought it was actually a pretty decent idea when you had a lot of heavyweights that were like fighting at 230. You're like, oh, that'd be kind of interesting to see. Like, you know, a lot of people were saying back then, like, imagine where Brendan Schaub could be. You know, I know it's like a different thing to think about now in 2024 with where Brendan is, just having all the success he's doing the broadcasting stuff. But like, he could have been a much different fighter fighting dudes that were like 225 that were his size and not going up and fighting 265-pound guys. So like, back in like 2015, I thought it wasn't a bad idea to introduce that division. But now at this point, like, makes absolutely no sense to do it.
Casey, I did in fact confirm it. It was 200 pounds and over, and under 200 pounds was lightweight. That was first implemented at UFC 12, which took place in good old Dothan, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's where Joe Rogan debuted, was it not?
At Dothan. Beautiful Dothan. Nice.
Dothan. Actually sounds like that is correct as well. I'd have to look that up. Jerry Bolander won the lightweight tournament finals, stepping in as a replacement fighter over Nick Sanzo with a neck crank.
Was that the card they just moved like the day before?
I believe that was, and I know this because it was Mark Coleman, Dan Severn.
Yep.
So yeah,
New York was like, no, you can't do it here, and they had to move the entire event.
Yeah, John McCain was being a butt, so they bumped it down to Dothan.
Dothan.
They moved the whole card for, what was his name? Whoever won.
John McCain.
Yeah.
See, precedent has been set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been extremely clear that I am not pro adding a 165 pound. I think that's silly. If you're going to add cruiserweight, you don't add cruiserweight. You just restructure all the weight classes to do 125, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, and then heavyweight. So you don't add a cruiserweight. You just add a 165, get rid of light heavyweight, and merge it functionally.
Yeah, I don't care about cruiserweight. I do like 65. Get rid of 70, make 70, 75. Yeah, that's personally what I would like. But cruiserweight.
I'm not opposed to doing that. I'm opposed to adding 165 and keeping 170.
No, that never made sense to me. I always assumed when you do 165.
It is the argument that is always made, and I'm like, that's dumb.
Well, no, 165 is great if you move 170 to 175.
I'm fine with that. I have no issues with that.
Okay, yeah. All right. Thank you, George.
Appreciate you.
All right. What else we got here? Rakid,
what's your thoughts about a lot of fighters who don't want to fight in Australia because of the tax? A huge difference for 1 week between Saudi and Australia. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Boy, just kind of like peering around at what UFC 312 is looking like right now and what's available. Not much going on in good old Sydney, Jed. So yeah, it's not something we talk about all that often, but it is an important thing, especially when we're thinking about the fighters, people not wanting to go to Australia because of the big taxes.
It is, like you said, we don't really talk about it. I think, there's not really a ton of reason. It is fascinating to me, this part of the game, though, because like pretty clearly there are places that you would rather fight. Like They're just based on tax law. And like even in the United States, like it is better to fight in some states over other states. And we see that all the time. And it is, like this is going to shock you guys, pretty pro taxes. I believe in, what taxes do. But it would be foolish to suggest that if I myself were a fighter, I would not want to, with one of the 3 paychecks I get in a year, collect as much of that money as I possibly can. And so, like, almost definitionally, if you are a fighter who is going to compete in a specific area, you are getting paid less than you normally would. You are taking a pay cut in some of these places to go compete there versus somewhere else. And so, like, I just think it's sort of the nature of the beast. There's nothing to do about it, but it is. I totally get why some people be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I would rather not fight in New York or California or whatever, because I'm only getting 10 and 10. I really don't want that to be taxed. I'd like that to be taxed as little as possible. So yeah, it's just sort of the nature of the beast.
Okay. And we when these overseas ones, it's like you do get taxed crazy.
You're getting double taxed,
and of course you receive no benefit from it because it goes to that country.
To my understanding, that there's some recourse for the American tax on that if you're already taxed, but I am certainly not an expert in tax law or anything like that. And so, like, yeah, it's just on its face. Would you like to make 30% less money? No, thank you. I would not like to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, would you want to fly across the world in economy, share a hotel room of 3 dudes, then lose if you lose, and basically walk home maybe banking $5,000 for a 3-month camp?
The way to sell it to me would be like, oh, they're flying me out and I can use this. I can think of this as that being the cost of a free trip to Australia or whatever. But yeah, man, it's tough. It is a tough thing. And it's the exact sort of thing, guys. And I feel like I haven't hit this particular note in a while. It's the exact sort of thing. And by exact sort of thing, I mean exactly the thing that, I don't know, a union might stand to represent in favor of fighters. If you are collectively fighters and had somebody to collectively bargain around such things, such as if we are going to go to a higher tax rate location, the UFC foots that bill, and thus we get a commiserate pay bump to compete in such things. But in the absence of a union, UFC ain't never going to do shit. And that's really not just the UFC. Your employers will never do anything that they are not forced to do. So get yourself a union, fighters. Then you can have say in this sort of thing.
Yep. It'll never, ever, ever, ever happen. It's too bad. It's just never going to happen. And to Dave's point, if you ask the UFC about this, because going through the Jon Jones Stipe timeline, Casey, that you wonderfully put together, Dana was asked a question about the UFC card for the Gustafsson rematch being moved to California. And they said, and I believe it was Ant Walker who actually asked this question, our good friend Ant, BTL alumnus, said, are you going to help the fighters out with a little more money to cover the taxes? And Dana's response was, who's going to pay my taxes? We have to pay extra taxes too. And that will be their answer every single time. And it's not even wrong. Like, because no one, as Jed said,
it's morally wrong. It's not
right. But
if
no one's
the fans pay your
but if
taxes.
no one's pushing back against it, if the fighters aren't coming together to do something about it, then why change a thing? You're making so much money. You cannot lose. You literally cannot lose right now. You can't. You get the fighters over a barrel. They can't do anything about it. I mean, they could. They're just not going to.
The only thing they can do about it is be like, I don't want to fight in Australia. That's it. Because consistently, at every possible opportunity, the fighters as a whole have not just rejected a union. They have done it like with vicious anger. Like the concept of a union just infuriates them because they're dumb. And I can't put that in any more kind of a way. I don't know, guys. Like, I got to tell you, if I was a professional fighter, I would look at other professional athletes and be like, I don't think a single person in the NFL is upset that they have a players association.
Or the NBA,
I got to tell
or
you,
Major League Baseball.
I think the NBA and the MLB, I think they're all like, man, it's pretty sick that we have this thing that helps us leverage against the unfettered power of the corporate structure. And if fighters like, nah, man, I'm good. 4.6 billion sale price. Man, that would be cool if we had some way to get some of that. Guess we just will never do anything about it.
Nah, man, you
Yeah,
just gotta give all the money to the UFC. They'll trickle it down to the fighters. That's how it works. We all know it works that way.
Yeah, I'm sure Shohei Ohtani is like, damn it, why did I join this union with my 10-year, $700 million contract I just signed? Like, come on.
That's the part
It's
that has
crazy.
always driven me insane. It's like, legitimately, Conor should have been the fighter most driving the union thing. He would have benefited the most. It's like, no.
Sure would have. But yeah, it's
it's just not hard, guys. There's so much literature and studies that like unions are a good thing for workers.
Yeah, but I mean, but the UFC has done actually like a really good job of like making sure this could never even happen, because that's why they have the Contender Series and all these other shows, because they could just lock in 60 new dudes at 10-10 who will gladly accept anything that the UFC offers them for the chance to fight in the UFC. And there's a lot of managers out there who will just want to keep the UFC happy more than keep their fighters happy. So
and it sucks for fighters, because you go, even if your fighter goes, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We should unionize. I'm not gonna go to the UFC because of their, contracts. So what's my option? Oh crap.
PFL.
PFL.
Not even one anymore. One doesn't do MMA anymore, realistically.
yeah. Well, now you got BKFC.
Like
you
Brave.
got
MMA. Yeah, you have to jump out in other sports. You have to all right, well,
Karate
throw all that
combat,
kicking,
you
all
gotta
that
go
grappling,
to
kicking. Yeah, just
dirty boxing.
the videos from Dirty Boxing look kind of cool.
That was fun as hell to watch those clips. I was like, shit, that would have been real fun to go.
Could legitimately be onto something there.
Yeah.
Did you see what they did though? Did you see what they did? And Jorge Masvidal could learn a lot from this.
Yes.
They didn't do it in an arena, and I know it was like a private event and all, but I'm telling you, and I hope Mike Perry and all those guys are listening to the words that come out of my mouth. Do not do a single thing different moving forward. Your events should look like that every time. There should be that many people in there every time. Maybe a little more, but you do not need to do an arena. You do not need to do a 5,000 seat building. There should be no more than 1,000 people at those fights. That's a full capacity type situation where the fire marshal is to come in and say, these 10 people have to leave. You have way too many people. That's it. No more than 1,000 people.
What's the name of that? Like, it's like a ball. It's called like a ballroom or something. Where that pro wrestling organization that wasn't the WWF or
ECW.
Sure, that one where there's like stacks of people because there's like a thing and it's like a really small venue and people are
Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah, whatever that shit is. Like, because like I see stuff on TikTok and like
it
watching
feels so
these, like,
crowded. Like
it looks like there's a billion people and they're just like throwing beer everywhere. It's just like the most lively event space I've ever seen. You should be doing that. Like that should be the place that you should do shit in, because that's
where all Masvidal's card. That's what all the Game Bread MMA cards should be. In buildings just like that, little theaters with high bet with just one balcony overlooking everything else.
Yeah, you gotta have like the balcony shit kicks ass.
Yeah, you need that. That's perfect, because like the acoustics in Hammerstein. Because I've been to an ECW show at Hammerstein and it was freaking electric in there.
Where is that place?
Yeah,
it's a new place. New York.
Yeah. Oh no, I absolutely agree. Like the greatest times I've had at combat sports events have been actually at pro wrestling events in extremely small venues where like essentially you are part of the show. And I think for Dirty Boxing, if you're a fan and one of those 500 fans that are there, kind of your almost job as a spectator is to be part of the experience, not just witness the experience. You are part of the experience, and that's why ECW was so awesome, because it wasn't just the wrestlers, it was the crowd and everything that was all part of it. And I hope that's why Game Bred MMA or whatever kind of sucks right now, because it's just the fights. You need kind of an experience, and Dirty Boxing seems to kind of get that, and I hope they kind of lean into that more.
Yeah,
dude, it's the same with concerts. Like, if you go to a big stadium show and it's somebody who can do that, you know, I've never been to Taylor Swift. I imagine Taylor Swift puts on a great live performance, but like all the best concerts I ever went to were in some bar where they were tucked in the corner and there were 100 of us just moshing. Like, it's just like, yeah, get small venues with lively experience is way better.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. All right, thank you much.
Stuffing or dressing?
It's a great question.
It's stuffing, baby. Stuffing
both.
over here.
Both are, I mean, so we're clear, this is asking us which we would prefer, not which is the correct term, because those are two different things. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
Oh,
Stuffing and dressing are not the same thing. Stuffing is dressing that is actually stuffed and cooked in the turkey, and dressing is just that shit that's not cooked in the turkey. They are different, and they're both awesome.
so stovetop is dressing.
Yeah, but stovetop that you then shove up the bird's ass and cook it is stuffing. You don't actually shove it up the bird's ass.
We say it like that. You gotta go stuff.
But if you don't stuff, yeah, okay.
But if you don't
it's
stuff
stuffed,
it, it's not stuffing. Then it's just dressing. And dressing is awesome. Dressing and gravy rocks. But also stuffing is also awesome.
Yeah, it's we call it stuffing whether it goes up the turkey or not.
We were very clear. There's the stuffing.
By definition, I'm wrong. But I'm not gonna say, Grayson, you want some dressing? He'll be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Stuffing?
No,
yeah, let's go.
The thing is, yes, this is semantics, but it is also a different product because they taste different because one got cooked for 6 hours in a turkey. And so they are different. So if you're like, would you like this? And they're not the same. I think they are both awesome, but they're different.
Stuffing.
Yep. Let's go. Stuffing is obviously a better word, by the way. Clearly, stuffing is a much better word.
Yeah, we know what stuffing is. Dressing can be multiple things.
Yeah, dressing. Yeah.
Dressing is a bad word for what it is, too.
100%.
Doesn't really. You look at it and you're like, that's not dressing. It's not the same.
Yes.
All right. This one's for you, Jed.
Leader cold.
Jed, what to watch? PFL Championship or UGA versus GT on Friday? Boy,
oh my god!
If I had a $1 trillion to bet on this one.
Hold on. When is the game time for the Georgia Tech game? Oh, fortunately, PFL will probably just be wrapping up. So PFL
10 p.m.
At 7 a.m. It is 7:30 kick for Georgia versus Tech. So I will probably get to be watching all of it, frankly. If PFL is still going on by the time, if PFL is still going on by the goddamn time Tech and UGA kickoff, it will be a nightmare. So I'll probably watch both. I mean, I will certainly watch both. I have two TVs. I'll set one up. But the knock on wood that the Tech game shouldn't be a problem for us. I'm now like, college football is so silly this year, and I don't know to what extent either of y'all pay attention to this or not, but the 12-team playoff is so weird because like Georgia is now going to play we are now locked into the SEC championship game, and we will play the winner of Texas versus Texas A&M that happens this weekend. We have 2 losses already. If we go to the SEC championship game and win, we get a bye in the playoff. If we go and lose, we might not make the playoff. Whereas if we just weren't playing in the SEC championship game, we would be pretty much locked into a playoff spot. So it's very, very stupid, and I don't know how to feel about things right now in college football.
I thought they fixed all this.
No,
Those-
that made it way worse. The 12
Oh.
team, the 12 team playoff is so dumb. It's been dumb since the idea of it. 4 teams was better. The very obvious correct answer is you do an 8-team playoff, 5 conference champions, and 3 at-large bids. It's very not hard. They have decided not to do that. And the SEC has also been a nightmare this year because everybody has just beaten everybody. So we all have a bunch of losses. And so, yeah, it's weird. Like, I wish we weren't playing for the SEC championship because even though I think we will beat Texas or A&M, depending, we already whomped Texas, but I would rather just be guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. It'd be better.
I'm assuming it's 12 teams now over 8. Did it used to be 8? Or
No, it was 4. They went right
4.
from 4 to 12.
Oh, 4. Okay. We went 4 to 12. Okay. Once they did a play. Okay. I'm assuming it's because they want to make more money, have more games.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because if it doesn't make sense, I always go, money.
Money is always the answer, and yes, it is.
If it doesn't make sense. That's why the Bellator thing, well, it doesn't make sense. Money.
There's probably a money reason for something that doesn't make sense. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith Carpenter.
Yeah, go Dogs.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to get to this. Let's just talk about it.
Jamash.
I have a new take on this.
Okay, shall we talk Conor? What impact will this have on his brand / finances? I do not mean in the fight game, since MMA fans are quite forgiving. So a lot going on with the Conor McGregor situation. I know, Jed, you and AK reacted to it shortly afterwards on the UFC Macau preview show because it happened this past Friday, 5 days ago as of right now. We were
to go live.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to have to delay this.
Jesus. I couldn't, like, when I tried to do that, I couldn't figure it out, and now it just happens. But anyways, Conor McGregor found liable in a civil case stemming from a sexual assault in 2018, or an alleged sexual assault. Conor found liable, over $250,000 paid to the victim. And since then, it has been kind of wild. Conor has come out and just continued to declare innocence. Even Conor's fiance has come out and basically said, just rip this woman, Nikita Hand, a new one on social media, standing by her man. And Conor is no longer part of the Hitman game. He is no longer the face of Proper Number 12. And stores have taken Proper Number 12 Irish whiskey off the shelves in Ireland. Like, all sorts of craziness has happened. So obviously some effect to his finances there potentially, and some effect to his brand already, Jed. But what more could this all mean for Conor McGregor, and what is this new take you have?
So I came to this take when I was talking about this with some friends. My friends and I usually talk about fighting stuff. Conor is obviously breaks through that kind of normal rule, and they were just asking about it. And I talked a lot of the stuff that we talked in the reaction, and that I think we all would agree with, and that even Jama says here, right? Like, MMA fans are quite forgiving. This isn't largely going to hurt his stock with the UFC, I don't think. I wrote about this a little bit this week as well. I think that the UFC is going to hand wave this. It's tough to know. At some point, Dana will get asked about it, and we will see his reaction. I would guess that his reaction will not be to outright defend Conor, but to kind of dismiss it with the same way he has hand waved a lot of other issues of got 700 lunatics. It's not a criminal conviction. People make mistakes. I wasn't there. I don't know the details, but maybe he will then defer to look, Conor. I was saying Conor's going to fight next year. He's got to get his own house in order, and he's got other issues to deal with before we even really concern ourselves with Conor competing again. What I was very confident of at the time, and has borne out to be true, is that however this affects his standing with the UFC, which I don't think is much, this is absolutely going to nerf all the rest of his business dealings, because while the UFC and MMA and this space of the world has a grand tolerance for awful shit, in the mailbag column I wrote this week, I cataloged not a comprehensive list, just a whole bunch of instances of the sport turning a blind eye to awful, heinous crimes that have acted. This is the same promotion that willingly employed Greg Hardy. Like the sport can bear a lot of this, but other things can't. Like the stench of this is enough to make people disassociate with him. And so very broadly, we are already seeing that. And more specifically, we will continue to see that. If y'all were waiting on Conor to be in Roadhouse 2, that wait may be forever because it ain't happening. And so as I was talking this through with my friends, what I came to is this, and this is unbelievably cynical, and I am very sorry if anyone is offended by the cynicism of it, but I truly believe it is real. Because this happened, because he was rendered civilly, or a verdict against him was rendered for this, and because of what it will mean to his personal finances, his business dealings, etc., this has made it dramatically more likely that Conor McGregor will fight next year. I have been very firmly on the corner that Conor's not coming back. I was pretty firmly on that corner even when he was booked at 303, and then after he exited, he's never fighting. Y'all have heard me say it a million times. This is the sort of thing that will make him fight again, both because now a lot of the impediments to it will be removed. He still has plenty of money, but he doesn't have other things to occupy his time because there ain't no movies coming for him now. There aren't other business dealings going to do. Everyone is going to say, please stay away from us. And also because fighting is how he gets back to what he was now. He did not need fighting before in any regard. He could make money doing other stuff. He was beloved for who he was, and that was fine. Now that there is something a very dark cloud hanging over his head, fighting is the path back to not salvation, but to broader appeal. Because, lest we forget, Mike Tyson is a convicted rapist. Not a civilly liable, convicted, went to prison rapist, and to the best of my knowledge, has never once apologized or done anything towards that. And yet, because he came back, he returned to fighting, he got back to doing the things that people loved him for. He became an elder statesman and then got rehabilitated despite doing none of the things we expect for a rehabilitation. Not, admitting his fault and working to be a better man, just saying whatever and letting time and his activity move us beyond it. And so Conor is now the court of public opinion will render unto him what it feels. And broadly speaking, it seems most people think that Conor is a bad person. That will only change with time. And if Conor gives us reasons to remember, certainly the people who want to forgive him, reasons to remember why they liked him. And they didn't like him because he was in Roadhouse or because he made a whiskey or had clothes. They liked him because he fist fought people and was fun and engaging on the mic. And so I think that because this has happened, I would say it is extremely likely now that we do see Conor McGregor back in the cage next year.
Yeah, it's UFC's. Yeah, I think the UFC is going to kind of handle it the way you said. We'll see what happens. What we heard Dana say about Luis Pena after that whole situation, we're not going to get that here. We didn't get it with Jon Jones. We're not going to get it here. There's just no way that happens. I'm kind of surprised we have not heard from David Feldman at all, BKFC, and that they've not said a word.
David Feldman is a smart man.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised. There was no statement about it, but
if no one's going to hold you to task on it, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of hate what you said, Jed, but you're correct.
I hate everything that I said, but I am really convinced.
I kind of thought that initially too. As soon as the verdict came, I was like, "Oh, bad for Conor, but this is good business for the UFC." UFC would not. They are gonna make money, extra money, more money because of this. Because Conor, I agree with you, is more likely to come back to fighting sooner than later, and that's what the UFC wants. So, I just hope there is a victim in this. I hope Nikita Han. I hope. I think we need to talk about the victim because we never mentioned the victim in this. I just hope that. I think it took a lot of bravery what she did to come out this case, because like once this case goes civil and everything, I don't like everything's public and everything now, and so I just hope her life is better now. That's all, because it takes a lot of bravery to do what she did, to put her name out there, and yeah, it's a lot of I just can't even imagine what she must be going through at this time. So
yeah. And Conor's got to appeal, and if you actually like really dig through some of this stuff, like I don't know, it's just unfortunate, the whole thing. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. But Mike, do you kind of agree with Jed too, that this brings Conor more likely back to MMA sooner than later, or is this?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, more. I would say so.
There's just nothing. Nobody else is going to touch him. Nobody else is going to touch him outside the combat sports world.
He actually needs fight. He needs to fight. Like, I think for himself personally, he needs to fight. Like, he needs to have something to strive towards, because without being in the gym and being disciplined and doing the 2-a-days and all the things that fighters would do in his position, staying healthy, both physically, which will also help him mentally and keep him on track. Like there are just fighters out there that just have to fight. It's just the best thing for them. And Conor was making a ton of money not having to do that. He could go be in movies, or he could go make personal appearances. He could walk the red carpets. He could do all this and that and still make a shitload of money. But the focus isn't all there. But now he can shift that focus into a fight camp, and maybe it'll improve him. But again, then the fight will end, and then what is he going to do with this time? So yeah, these stories suck.
Yes, sir. All right.
We might not be forced to watch Roadhouse 2. One of the worst movies
Silver
ever.
lining.
So.
Okay. Before we get out of here, this a couple more Thanksgiving kind of questions.
What is better, the initial Thanksgiving meal or the sandwiches made with the leftovers the day after? It's the meal. The meal fucking rocks. The other stuff's great too, but the meal I've been preparing for a month for tomorrow. Been preparing for a month for tomorrow, specifically. So,
Mike, are you like a turkey trot guy? You go out, do like a 5K in the morning before you go home and start cooking the plan? I could see
there will be a work
trot guy.
I'm not a turkey trot guy because I hate running. Absolutely hate it. I will do it if I have to. But there is a workout that is going to be absolutely. It's gonna be effing brutal. I hate everything about the workout tomorrow. There's lunges and all sorts of shit that I hate. Lots of echo biking, which is never fun. But yes, the workout will be done before the turkey is eaten. But yeah, it's the Thanksgiving meal, but the sandwiches just rule the day after as well, and the night. The fourth meal is always a good time as well. You're leaving that out.
Yeah. Lunges are the second worst workout behind Bulgarian split squats, which should be banished into the eternal fire.
Yes, those are along with burpees. Burpees can go.
Burpees suck. Like, they're not fun, but I would rather do 10 burpees than 10 lunges any day of the week, or 100.
I hate this. Yeah. I'm a big leftovers guy, so yeah, leftovers for me.
I love both, but yes, I'm with Mike. Original meal.
All right. One more Thanksgiving question.
I was waiting for questions
because I thought about this for a while.
What UFC fighter would you want to eat Thanksgiving dinner at? Like, whose house, or just who would you want to eat with?
Yeah, just who, I guess.
I mostly think
mine is Dustin. Yeah, mine is Dustin or any other Southern fighter. So if you could have Thanksgiving, if a UFC fighter were to come to Thanksgiving, Jed, who would it be if you could choose?
So I saw this early in the show, and I've been thinking about it pretty consistently. And I settled on, I had an initial answer, and I went around and I've come back to it. And I think it's the answer I'm the happiest with, because I'm not thinking just like me and Dustin Poirier at a dinner table, like just the two of us. Because I frankly would not want to do that with any fighter. That sounds horrible. But like we're integrating a fighter in with like a group family dynamic. So you want somebody who is outgoing and gregarious and like good at sort of the kind of social aspect to it and can kind of cover a range of topics. And like Dustin's not a terrible answer, but I'm actually going with his Louisiana brethren and give me Daniel Cormier. I feel like Daniel Cormier probably thrives around a Thanksgiving table, like just a big party sort of atmosphere, hanging out. The man can put in that work on the plates as well. So like, I feel like DC is as close to a perfect answer as I have for this.
That is a great answer. I have been at not a Thanksgiving dinner, but kind of big meals with DC when he was an active fighter, and that man just takes up the room in a good way, not a bad way, in a good way. Yeah. Some people take up a room in a bad way, but DC's like, no, DC, take over. It's fun. Yeah.
You could just here, take it and run. Here's the ball, take the rock. And like I think Poirier, like Max Holloway, these would be like cool dudes to just hang around with. But if you're looking like in a big atmosphere, somebody to have a big personality to fill space and not like step on toes or be, I'd feel like DC is just kind of like perfect for that role.
It's a good pick. It's my go-to for like everything. I'm going Brandon Moreno. Because he's just such a delight. There's no way the meal is bad. He might even like make funny faces with like peas stuck in his mouth at people. Just like, and as soon as you look at him, he closes his mouth. He would be like the Pee Wee Herman of the table. It'd be incredibly fun. And he'd probably have like a mystery word that if you said, he would yell out loud. It's him. He's just a delightful human being.
I would pick, because I have two fighters. I would pick, because I know her and I've had meals with her and they've always been great meals. So I love hanging out with Angela Hill. But for a fighter I've never been around with, but I would just want to experience Yuri Prohaska. Just because I just want to see Yuri Prohaska all around my Chinese relatives and just like this giant man.
Oh, he'd make you go out and like hunt all of the food. It would be incredible.
He is a pretty great answer.
Truly work for your meal. That's excellent.
Because I was going to say Tom Aspinall because like he's English, so he doesn't do Thanksgiving, or at least I don't think they do Thanksgiving.
They don't.
And so like he can get that. He's gracious, but Yuri is that only instead of it being like normal and fun, it would just be real weird in a way that I would find hilarious.
Oh my god!
Just the weirdness would be just unbelievable.
Now we pray to the fight gods before the Yuri. Would you say the prayer to the Bushido gods?
Let's turn the lights off. We all sit in silence for about 6 hours before we
honor the turkey who gave its life. This noble turkey.
I think with that, I think that's a great way to end the program, right, guys?
I think we're good. Yeah.
That's terrific exit point.
A terrific exit point. Hit the music. We're done. For those who celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful to all of you who tune into this show and all of our other shows each and every week. And we'll be back next Thursday to get you ready for UFC 310, the final pay-per-view of the year. We'll recap just hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of PFL fights tomorrow. But until then, everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving, a great long weekend. For Casey, for Jed, I am Mike Heck. We love you. Good night, everybody.
Love y'all.
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.